Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kostuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/Wisdom of the Sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live back from Super Soul Farm. Made it home. Made it out of the hospital. Woo!
Hey, don't go crazy, okay? Keep it. You're still not 100% yet, Rugger. You got
Burn pile today. No. Live from Super Soul Farm. This is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host Raghunath and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kostuba Das. Welcome to the show. Welcome back to the farm. We made it out of there. Woo! Thanks for everybody's
20
prayers.
years younger.
I do. I look like Raghunath circa 1996. Lost like 17 pounds. But I think I subsisted and I'm healing on the prayers and the love of the people because couldn't have done it on my own, I will say. There was a lot of, I want to give some shout outs too. I got some shout outs today. Gina Faro. Mysterious Gina. Can't figure her out where she's from, but she sent me flowers and she sent me some goodies.
She's from upstate.
Is she from upstate? Where's she come from?
Yeah.
She just showed up on the scene. Lisa Tuttle from Maine sending me some goodies and some love and flowers. I turned my whole windowsill into an altar.
Yeah.
Chris Lopez got me some ghee.
Nice.
Rosie and Janani Voss made soup yesterday. Thank you. It was super nice.
Oh.
Lori Pag sent me an edible. What do you call those edible arrangements?
Edible arrangement, like for
they went through the
boxes, those things.
No. It's like when there's this theory, like, okay, why send people flowers? They're just gonna rot there. Send them food, and so they're like,
okay,
like a melon on a stick, put in an arrangement. So she knows. She knows I'm an eater. Thanks, Lori Pag, my sis, Katie Purcell, Daniel Brigham, Skinner G, sending lots of love. Thank you guys. It means a lot. I got a lot of loving messages, a lot of prayers. People were doing pujas for me, chanting rounds for me.
I feel.
What do you think about that, Mara? Rachel Manawis just said, "I'm going to. I know you can't chant your japa. I'm chanting my japa for you."
Oh.
What do you think? What do you think about that, Mara? Did you chant any japa for me?
Where's Prabhu?
Because I told Radha Swami, I was like, I can't chant japa. And he goes, just desiring to chant japa is your japa. I was like, really? Can I keep?
Does that always work?
Does it always work? Because like today I'm a little behind also.
But I sense a greater energy coming from you, Raghunath. I feel a little. Your life's coming back.
Well, I will say it's been helpful being on the show. Also, it was exhausting those last 2 days, but
yeah,
it gave me a little perk and a little hope.
Yeah,
and again, we were like the hospitals with all their good they can do, they can get you a little depressing, and with COVID, no one has any good answers. No one's got any good answers.
Yeah,
and it's super mysterious, and people are just giving. Even the healthcare professionals are giving us these like dead stares. We don't know what to expect, and it doesn't give the patient so much hope or some feeling of security. So there was like that ongoing Bhagavatam, we may never get out of here. And so when they said I could leave yesterday, it was a little bit of a relief, but at the same time, at the same time, there's a beauty of sort of like being on that edge where you feel like I don't want to waste a moment because this could be my last moment. So there's a beauty to that destitution in a sobriety of the temporality of your life that I don't want to lose that, you know. You know, I didn't want to watch a dumb TV show, or it's just been, everything's been like very focused on Krishna and Hari Katha, and I want to keep that. I want to keep that
nice
state of being. Can I read you something sort of cool? It's cool little nugget.
Yeah, you can. Sure.
I was thinking maybe the Zoomers might dig this.
Okay. Who's it from?
This is from Henry Bergenson, French philosopher.
French philosopher, yes.
Oh, yes, French philosopher. One of the most famous and influential French philosophers of the 19th and 20th century. Here's what he has to say. Okay. Fortunately, some are born with spiritual immune systems that sooner or later give rejection to the illusory worldview grafted upon them from birth through social conditioning.
Okay.
So interesting. People have been thinking like this forever. This guy died in the 40s.
I wonder if he was familiar with, yoga philosophy at all, because that's straight yoga philosophy right there.
Yeah, I mean,
not that he had to be.
I think in the 40s,
parallel.
In the 40s, a lot of these people were really tied in with a lot of Eastern thought. They begin sensing that something is amiss, right? A lot of us are like that. We begin sensing that something is amiss. Like, I've got it all. There's some very successful people that listen to this program, and they realize, like, okay, it's a golden cage. I've got it all, right? Something is amiss, and they start looking for answers, right? That's the spiritual immune system. Inner knowledge and anomalous outer experience show them a side of reality others are oblivious to. And so begins their journeys of awakening. Each step of that journey is made by following the heart instead of following the crowd, and by choosing knowledge over the veils of ignorance. Isn't that beautiful?
I like it. I like it a lot.
I like it a lot too.
Yeah, it's, it makes me think of, like our punk rock experience. It's kind of like we were already, there was some sense that something was amiss.
Right.
And there was some sense of, okay, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm not going to follow the crowd. But it was kind of like a pre-yogic situation, right?
Yeah. It was, we thought like punk was the spiritual solution. And it was in a lot of ways. It took us to an alternative path. It also took a lot of people to drugs, violence.
It was a rejection. It didn't necessarily have the answer, but at least it was recognizing something's amiss. Right.
Something's amiss here.
That could be the name of your next record right there. Something's amiss. How's that?
Something's amiss. Something's really amiss. It's good.
But I like it. Yeah, I like it. And I think for a lot of people, that kind of what he said that they begin sensing that something is amiss, start looking for answers. Inner knowledge and anomalous outer experience show them a side of reality that others are oblivious to.
I like that, don't you? Anomalous outside experience. Like, this doesn't weigh up. I'm doing this. I'm supposed to be getting this from this, and I'm left completely empty here. That's that's an anomalous. What's the word?
Anomalous.
What's the whole sentence?
Inner knowledge and anomalous outer experience show them a side of reality others are oblivious to, and so begins their journey of awakening.
Yeah,
I think vegetarianism was and is that for a lot of people too.
I think sometimes also letting go of anger, of resentment for people. People have been carrying a resentment and anger around for years, and they just get to this point where, like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to be this guy anymore. I'm not going to hate anymore. Hating is like the thing. People love to hate things. And you get to this point where, like, I can't do this anymore. I'm not going to hate people. People are hateful. Yeah. So there's a lot of different things that people that their that are steps on their journey to awakening. I'd love to hear. Yeah, if you've got something that you like walked away from, be it hate, be it dietary diet, etc. Put it up on the board. I'd be interested to see what you are awakening, how it started.
But how fortunate we are that we were able to sense something was amiss. We were really good at rejection, but to get some really nice, beautiful, clear, spiritual, consistent philosophy to go with it. When that kind of sensing something amiss is kind of like a fertile field, but you need that seed thrown in there, right? That kind
You need a seed.
healthy seed.
You need. It helps to have a community, right? It helps to have friends. It helps to have like a little tribe, a little ashram, a little people you can relate to. An occasional festival.
Occasional festival.
That's what we did. There's a festival around it. Everything's a festival. It's a festival of purification, instead of a festival of degradation.
Right.
If you think about it, that's what we really got going on in the world. You got a festivals of degradation or festivals of edification. You choose your festival, please.
I like it.
Right? Like
Edification.
Carnival. It's a festival of carny. Celebrate. What is it? Celebrating celebrating Brazil? Yeah, well that's what it is.
Right.
It's like a celebration of like indulgence, isn't it?
Of flesh?
Of carne. Carne. What's the source of that, Mara? You went to private school.
Nobody knows what you're talking about. You're going great there.
Yeah, it does come from the word flesh, actually.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it's like the celebration of the indulgence before the fasting of the
Lent, I think.
Lent.
I think it's Mardi Gras and
It's
Lent.
kind of like a Mardi Gras thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
So the festival of purification, right? That's what Janmashtami is. That's what Ramnami is. That's what all of our, our Vaishnava festivals are. Gora Purnima. They're festivals to bring us higher. We're singing, we're dancing. We don't even know who we're singing and dancing with. We're just jumping around, the rich, the poor. Doesn't matter what gender, what color skin you have. You're just singing, glorifying, shedding ego. It's beautiful.
Okay. All right. Should we get into the Bhagavatam?
Yeah. It's the beginning of Lent, Bunky says.
Yeah.
It's partying before Lent.
It's like, anyway, we could get into the whole thing, and that's related to Bhagavatam, but the whole thing about like bathing, the elephant bathing, right? It's like, oh, I'm going to have to perform some kind of religious austerity that's supposed to purify me of my sins. So let's go ahead and live it up before we do that, right?
Right. Sort of defeats the purpose there.
Defeats
All right, let's get into some Srimad Bhagavatam and see if there's a message for us today.
Okay.
Right?
What chapter are we on, Raghunath?
Oh, we're in chapter 25, Prabhu. You know that.
Excellent.
Excellent. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narotamam devim sarasvatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan. Unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being. Unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning. Unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated in loving service to the Supreme Lord, whose praise with transcendental songs we establish as an irrevocable fact. Om Agyama Gyana Tamarandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksurun Madatam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I was born blind. In the darkness of ignorance, my teachers are opening my eyes. With the torchlight of knowledge, I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Reading from the Bhagavatam, the glories of Bhakti, chapter 25, canto 3. Text.
We're on text 33 today.
33.
So now Kapila is describing Bhakti to his mother Devahuti. He's described how all the senses are representations of the demigods, and just as the devas are meant to serve Lord Vishnu, the senses and the mind should all be engaged in the service of Lord Vishnu. when that happens, then real devotional service is kind of born, and that devotional service characterized without having no separate motive, and that when one achieves that, when you have loving devotional service without any separate personal motive, then that's far better than salvation. He said, better than mukti, right?
By the way, I'm looking at the board right now where people are saying like how what their sort of like walk away out of illusion was. A lot of it was alcohol for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to walk away from that, which is very normal. It's very normalized anyway. And then when you walk away from it, you probably feel like, wow, did you have that experience, Mara? Did you drink alcohol?
Yeah, I drink alcohol.
How much alcohol did you drink?
Yeah, Mara.
Too much.
Did you drink alone?
Oh boy.
What did you have a definitive state in your time where you said this is over?
No, I think I changed, the more I did yoga, the more it was like easier to fill in my life with other things. And I just felt like I didn't need it anymore. That and changing who I hung out with made a big difference also.
Who were you hanging out with? The hell were you hanging out with back then?
the old Raghunath is back. He's prying.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. I mean, you're a pretty gradual type of person.
Yeah.
But that's good. It must have felt very like liberating, like don't need that anymore.
Yeah.
Good for you. Looks like that was a big one for everyone. Okay.
So again, you totally ignored my summary there, Raghunath.
I never ignore. I'm always taking in.
Yeah.
Trying to go deeper. To go deeper.
And so in any case, he made the point, Kapila Dev made the point that bhakti is superior to salvation. Now, text 33, this is important. This is a really important verse, and it's unique because it only has two short lines to this verse.
Yeah.
A little different. Mm-hmm.
Bhakti, devotional service, dissolves the subtle body of the living entity without separate effort, just as fire in the stomach digests all that we eat.
That's right.
Dissolves the subtle body.
Yes. In other words, when you eat, right, like say you're hungry and someone puts a nice meal in front of you and it's so tasty, the aroma is so nice and your desire to eat it is there, because it you can tell it's going to be just enjoyable to eat. And then you begin to eat and it's satisfying to the tongue, right?
Mm.
And it, in a sense, satisfying to the mind. But it's doing something automatic. Like you would do it just for that, right?
Right.
That would be enough of a good reason to do it, that it's just so satisfying. But at the same time, it's also countering your hunger. Like it counters your hunger automatically. There's no separate endeavor that has to be made to deal with your hunger. You eat the food because it's so satisfying, and automatically your hunger is taken care of as well.
Mm.
And so here it's saying when one performs bhakti, when it says it dissolves the subtle body, it means, in other words, all of the desires in our mind, right? This is what the Jnana yogis, the Ashtanga yogis, they're trying to go into a very deep state of trance, and they're trying to dissolve that subtle body, all the programming that's there in the mind. Even our friend Henry was talking about this morning. What did he say? How did he call it? The social conditioning or something like that?
Our friend Henry Bergenson.
Henry Bergson.
Philosopher.
Bergson, yeah. He said, some are born with spiritual immune systems that sooner or later give reject to the illusory worldview grafted upon them from birth through social conditioning. Okay? That's the subtle body. That's what the subtle body is made up of, is all of that subtle programming. What I think will make me happy, which is grafted upon us by social conditioning. What I think will give me distress, which is also
Isn't it amazing
grafted upon
that
us.
every decade, every 20 years, 30 years, it's still social conditioning. It's just the social conditioning of the 40s, of the 20s, of the 1810. It's just like they all have their different flavors of social conditioning.
More or less the same thing, but a different flavor of it, right?
A different flavor.
Some
now
subtleties.
It's a little bit more,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the subtle body, and that can be, the Ashtanga yogis are going to try to do that by settling the mind and you go, it's almost like shutting off the mind, right? Because the mind is always moving. So a somewhat elaborate kind of process is created where you address one's lifestyle through yama niyama. You address the channels of energy in the body through asana. You address the breath through pranayama. All of these are having an effect that'll make it easier. They're all advantageous for the task of settling the mind. Then pratyahara, withdrawing the senses. And then deeper levels of concentration, or deeper levels of holding the mind on one object. So what is it? Dharana, dhyana, and then ultimately samadhi. And that experience of being samadhi, in samadhi, all this stuff is very subtle and hard to describe. But the way that I understand it is that because the mind has been... Imagine you're in a room and it was just all like... You say there are like 10 big video screens stuffed into that room with you, and they're all just blasting out imagery and sound, audio and visual. You're just being overwhelmed with audio and visual, input. And, it would be kind of torturous, after some time. And then say suddenly someone pulled a plug on it and the whole thing just shut down and the room was silent. And and all of the visuals shut down. In that moment, you'd feel a sense of great relief, and you would feel like, like I can be Raghunath again. You know what I'm saying? It would be like,
right.
All of this stuff was interfering with just normality.
Right.
And so that experience of samadhi is something like that, where when the mind's finally shut down after who knows how many lifetimes of it just running and running and running and running, that one experiences one's own spiritual nature underneath it. And that experience is so real and tangible that all of that grafted programming, social conditioning, that's programmed, all of that is suddenly seen for exactly what it is, that there's no truth in it, that it's something separate from me, that I have no real connection with it. And one feels, like some kind of deep spiritual sense of relief from that. So that's, in a sense, you could call that dissolving the subtle body, right? You're breaking down the mind.
Right.
And that can be done in Ashtanga yoga, like I've said, or in Jnana yoga, where that's done through it. Again, renounced living combined with a very stoic sense of analysis, analyzing every one of my desires and breaking them one after another. But here it's saying that in both of those efforts of Jnana yoga or Ashtanga yoga, they're tremendously difficult tasks. It's like... It requires so much renunciation and so much work, and it's such a challenge, such a challenge. Here it's saying bhakti, or it dissolves the subtle body of the living entity without separate effort, just as fire in the stomach digests all that we eat, right? The joy of the connection with God, the feelings of love, the feelings of satisfaction. Even, just like even when Raghunath does Sweet Baby Krishna, you relish it. It's joyful. Mm-hmm. That we would do it just for the joy itself, but at the same time it's dissolving the subtle body, right? At the same time it's countering all of our programming. At the same time it's satisfying our needs. It's satisfying our desires. It's helping us let go of all of that programming and just plugging into truth without a separate effort.
It's definitively an effort, a spiritual effort that it's almost like we like to give credit to the environment. Like sometimes when I hear about, okay, this guy was in the 40s on a spiritual quest, must have been easier because Kali Yuga didn't sink in, and then maybe 100 years ago, or maybe if people are living in nature, but it's just not true. Nature can help, be close to nature, but you can be close and, when everything was organic and there was no herbicides, fungicides, pesticides, you were still in Maya. You were still an illusion. It's not like the pre-industrial revolution made everybody organic and connected. Not true. There was people in deep, deep Maya and deep types of hate and deep. We like to paint these like unicorn utopia worlds where there was no anger and fighting and people just embraced all the time. And it just wasn't like that. There's always been hate. There's always been envy. There's always been competition. There's always been bloodthirsty people, and there's always been kind people and sages. And it takes a spiritual effort not just an environment. And so the best thing, in that creepy hospital room, I was thinking, I got to a point of the first day of depression, but the second day I was like, you know what? I'm going to turn this into a temple.
Gonna
And
flip it.
I'm going to flip it. I'm going to flip this thing on its back, flip the script. And I just started chanting mantras and playing Ganga Stotram and all these stotrams and stutis, and made the whole room transcend with spiritual vibration and pacing back and forth and sitting in meditation. And so, yeah, you can create it anywhere. I mean, you do it in the city. The Bhakti Center does it in the city. And you can do it in the country. Or you can be living in the country and be addicted to your tongue, belly, and genitals as well. So there's no like material solution to our problem. Wherever we're placed, this yoga system is meant for us to like dive deep into this. And it doesn't matter what age it is. Doesn't matter if we're in the middle of congested cities or prisons, or it doesn't matter if we're on a tropical island. You can be in so much Maya in a tropical island. I know, I've been there.
All right, ready for text 34?
Yeah. A pure devotee who is attached to the activities of bhakti and who always engages in the service of my lotus feet, never desires to become one with me. Such a devotee who is unflinchingly engaged, always glorifies my pastimes and activities. Here it is being laid down. This is the Bhakti Shastra. You want to be a great devotee? Okay. You don't want to become one with me. You want to get to understand me. You want to get to know me. You want to get to love me. That's not becoming one with. I love how it's just so spelled out in the Bhagavatam.
And that's right. This is exactly Vyasadev's idea that, okay, finally I'm going to clarify all my teachings in this Bhagavatam under the order of Narada, right? People are confused. They can't get to the essence of it. And so we're seeing boom, 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 again and again, he's hitting on these points. And here, in one sense, this verse says it with a kind of a clarity that is undeniable, that people commonly think that, the goal of spirituality is you become one with God, meaning like entirely, absolutely, or really that you realize that you are God and you merge into the oneness. And here it's saying that those that are tasting this bhakti, they don't desire that at all. They're tasting something that's beyond it, or they're tasting something that's superior to it. So they never desire to become one with me. Right?
Now you might argue, like, well, after you hear stuff like this, wouldn't you just be like, yeah, well, bhakti, of course, duh. But the thing is, it's not. I mean, if you hang out like we do, like we hang out in India, you see people who go to India and they really just want some peace in their life. They don't want bhakti, or they don't know about bhakti, or they haven't got that bhakti bug, which all you sad folks have. All of you are sad people. I just want you to know that you're sad because you'll never be happy in the material world now, because you've got the bhakti bug and it's over. Your material life is over. I'm sorry to break it to you. Nothing will be the same any longer. But there's people who want to, I just want to go to the Ganga and I just want to feel the peace of Mother Ganga and offer a prayer and pray for, and the Ganga is known as like, we'll give you whatever you want and fulfill your desires. And people come and have historically come to India, approached God, spirituality for, metaphysical material kickbacks, basically, like a metaphysical Amazon Prime, where you can get what you want and you feel good about it and feel sort of pious about it. But it's really just sort of fulfilling your desires. And the thing is that the yoga culture is not even putting it down, because the idea of materialism is I get what I get because I work hard for it. And the first step out of that very narrow thinking is I get what I get by the mercy of higher energies, of higher forces. And therefore I approach the gods, the devas, God, to get something back because I've been maintained. And so it is a step out of materialism, but it's still limited. It's still limited. It's still my own desires. So there is a whole culture. Matter of fact, most of what I'd say Vedic culture is this sort of evolution of consciousness, accepting that we're getting stuff from higher beings. And it's only when you get to this point in bhakti where you actually get to this point, and it's beautiful because in America we could really relate to this, is there's no stuff of this world. Ever get there? Because there's no stuff in this world that'll make me happy. There's no amount of stuff I can consume that will make me happy. And I think a lot of us get to that point because we're coming from the land of stuffs and storage containers, and we're overstuffed. Our garages are stuffed. Our basements are stuffed. You want to buy a bigger house? Just to stuff it with more stuff. We're so sick of stuff. We're trying to downsize and get into, I want a tiny home. And then I'm going to start collecting tiny homes because I consume everything. We're just like into stuff so much, and we're sick of it. So I think that, yeah, beautiful place.
That stuff, wanting that stuff, that's more like related to the vikarmic or karmic level of consciousness, right? Where like, and even seeing that comes from higher beings. So, okay, let me worship the devas for the things of this world. Right. And then the next stage that comes after that is the idea that this stuff, the realization this doesn't make me happy. And at that point, one may think, I am spirit, I'm not this body. Satisfying the senses of this body is not what brings true satisfaction. I'm made of spirit, God is spirit, I am God. Let me realize that I'm God again and merge into God and become just
godly.
Yeah, just become free like that. And so we call that mukti. Now, Prabhupada's writing about this in this commentary here. He writes, it is clearly stated by Kapila Muni that bhakti activities or activities in devotional service are transcendental to mukti. Now that's what we can say, mukti or moksha, liberation. The idea that I no longer want to be controlled by the material energy. I just want to be free. So that's like, that for many, they consider that to be the highest stage, that freedom. In bhakti, that's considered a neutral stage. It means you're no longer controlled by the material energy. Now you're at a neutral stage, but there's still so much divine spiritual connection to be found. That's beyond this. But he's saying here, Kapila's making it clear, no, don't think that neutral stage is the end. That's just the neutral stage. So he says, it's clearly stated by Kapila Muni that bhakti activities or activities in devotional service are transcendental to mukti. That is called Panchama Purushartha. Panchama Purushartha. So that means the fifth goal. You could say like the fifth
desires.
Well, the fifth object of human pursuit. There's like these four, right, that are commonly spoken about: dharma, artha, kama, moksha. That one lives a dharmic life according to the sacred texts.
Don't you love the taxonomy of Vedic thought? Everything is broken down into like numbers and lists.
Yeah. It's not. Yeah, there's a lot of thought goes into it, right? So I'm going to act dharmically, just like Raghunath was saying. Like first, I just want things. The second stage is I want things, but I realize there are higher beings that are providing these things. So that's the stage of dharma. Let me live a dharmic life in such a way that will please these beings. I'll get what I want. So I'm doing my ritual and I'm living a pious life. So that's dharma. From that comes artha. The good things in life come, right? Wealth comes, health comes, birth of healthy children comes, rains for the crops come, all those good things come. So there's dharma, that's artha. From that comes kama. One satisfies their desires. And the idea being that because I've been doing this in a healthy way, because I'm doing it in a way that recognizes nature and respects the devas, that I'm going to be gradually increasing my knowledge. And once I've tasted the things of this world, because I'm cultivating this spiritual thing at the same time, I recognize real happiness isn't here. And then I begin to seek the fourth of the Purusharthas, which means moksha. I realize that material things don't satisfy me. I realize I am spirit. I let go of all my material desires. I find peace. So dharma, artha, kama, moksha. For a lot of people, that's it. But here Prabhupada's saying, but there's something else. There's the Panchama Purushartha. There's the fifth one. And that's the ultimate goal, and that's bhakti. So he says, this is called Panchama Purushartha. Generally, people engage in the activities of dharma, artha, economic development, and kama, sense gratification, And ultimately, they work with the idea that they're going to become one with the Supreme Lord, Mukti. So those are the four. But Bhakti is transcendental to all these activities. The Srimad Bhagavatam therefore begins right in the first verse, right? Or second verse maybe. The Srimad Bhagavatam begins therefore by stating that all kinds of pretentious religiosity is completely eradicated from the Bhagavatam. This text,
Pretentious religiosity.
pretentious religiosity.
It's a good one, huh?
Yeah, yeah,
Hi, I'm religious.
yeah. This is about complete.
You're so pretentious, Raghu, and your religiosity.
So ritualistic activities for economic development and sense gratification, and after frustration and sense gratification, the desire to become one with the Supreme Lord are completely rejected in the Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam is especially meant for the pure devotees, those that don't have any kind of envy, those that don't like, but I don't want to bow down, but or I want to be God. I don't want anyone to be above me. I don't want to recognize my dependence on anything or anyone. Right. So
that's a great verse, by the way. That's a good memorizing verse.
Second verse, the Bhagavatam.
One, yeah. Dharma projita kaita botrana namo param nimatsa. What is it? Dharma projita kaita botra paramo nimatsaranam sutam vedyam vastavam atravestu shibadam tapatrayan mulanam. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated. This Bhagavatam propounds the highest truth.
The highest truth,
which is
reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries.
Yeah.
This beautiful Bhagavatam compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need for any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within the heart.
That's everybody's homework. You're going to read one. What is it?
Two.
Canto 1.
1-1-2.
1-1-2. Canto 1, chapter 1, number 2. Read that. Actually, read 1 and 2. Read the first verse and the second verse. That's everybody on Zoom's homework today. Those two verses alone is unbelievable. If you could just read those over and over. You don't have to read the purport. Just read those verses over and over. They're like mind-blowing stuff. Rejecting all, what is it? Completely rejecting all religion that is materially motivated. God.
You like that?
I love it.
All right.
Okay. Are we still playing the game?
What do you mean? Doing the show?
Game? What time? It's 8:45. Okay.
Yeah, we got time.
We're still in this. Okay.
Text 34.
I need like mini classes. Text 34. A pure devotee who is attached to the activities of bhakti and who is always engages in the service of my lotus feet never desires to become one with me. Such a devotee who is unflinchingly engaged always glorifies my pastimes and activities. Did we just read that?
We read that one. Next one.
Oh, my mother, my devotees always see the smiling face of my form with eyes like the rising morning sun. They like to see my various transcendental forms, which are all benevolent. Love that word. And they also talk favorably with me.
This is a
like
beautiful
to see
verse.
My various transcendental forms.
You know,
which are all benevolent.
So the previous verse says they don't try to become one with me. They're not trying to become God. And then read this verse, and you see now it's talking about God's form. And it's describing the beauty in that form with eyes like the rising morning sun, right? To see those eyes, we just can't imagine the beauty in it, right? Now, most of us spend our time trying to beautify ourselves, right? You sit in the mirror, and the whole cosmetic industry is about trying to.
What I do to my eyes every morning. Come on.
I know, Raghunath. You got those.
You get the
what do
eyes
they call
like
those
this?
things that bend your your eyelashes.
I bend the lashes back a little,
right?
give it a little
Spend
curl.
so much time
bit.
on that every morning. It's like you're wasting your Java period doing that. You're going,
It's important. It's important.
Okay, but the point is like these they're happy that Krishna become the attractive one, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't engage in looking half decent and all that. But what I'm saying is that that the devotees, they take great pleasure in Krishna's beauty, right? So when they think of his eyes, there's no more beautiful sight. And he says, they like to see my various transcendental forms, right? The Mayavadi philosopher, the philosopher that's only interested in that liberation and becoming one with God, they think all form is illusion, right? But the devotees, the bhakti yogis, they say, no, 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 there's transcendental form, and there's nothing more beautiful and satisfying than transcendental form. So he says, they like to see my various transcendental forms, which are all benevolent, and they also talk favorably with me. In other words, that's, and so like if someone goes to India and you're seeing temples left and right, and what is this? What kind of primitive kind of thing is going on here? No, no, no. There's something very real, very scientific, very yogic going on in these temples. And why don't we read the purport to this? Prabhupada writes a lot of interesting stuff.
Yeah, of 36?
35.
35, I'll go. Mayavadis and atheists accept the forms of the deities in the temple of the Lord as idols. I used to also.
Okay.
I used to just think, a bunch of idols. But devotees do not worship idols. They worship the personality of Godhead in his Archa incarnation. That's interesting, huh? Just like we shouldn't do idol worship. Yeah, we agree with you. We 100% agree. We don't believe in idol worship.
We don't want to worship anything that's just like has no life or is just some false representation or something like that.
Yeah, we got to get a pujari on here. I mean, like there's a whole thing about picking the actual stone. Have you ever heard of this?
Why don't we
stone
get,
has to have a special, like, I think like a hole in it or something, where there's actually there's life in certain stones.
Yeah.
Like when they picked the Nrsingadev deity for Mayapur, it's just not a random. They have to go around and the pujari has to find the right stone. And it's not just a random piece of stone. There's stones that are like living, they say.
But yes, and I would say yes and no, right? Like, yes, there is that kind of subtlety involved in it. And at the same time, and I think Prabhupada may be speaking about this here soon too, is that in another sense, God is present everywhere. So I can just like draw Krishna's name in the sand and start to worship it with the right mood, understanding that he's present right there, right now,
Yeah, that too.
So both are there. Yeah. Who we should get is Krishna Kshetra Swami. We should get him on the show. And
you know what? Yeah, he's good. He's lucid. He's clear. He's deep. He's scholarly. He's impressive. He's sweet like pie.
Put that invitation out. Yeah.
Like they directly worship the sweet like pie.
Sweet like pie.
Don't give me that face, Mara. She gave me the pie face.
No, she was appreciative.
They directly.
She was happy. They directly
worship the personality of Godhead in his Archa incarnation.
Yeah, so Archa means those refers to the forms. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Okay.
Yeah, Archa refers to the form which we can worship in our present condition, right? How do you worship God if you can't see God? Well, that's God's mercy appears in the Archa form. It makes so much sense.
We can't see. It's all here. We can't see. It's true.
Actually, in our present state, it is not possible to see God in his spiritual form because our material eyes and senses cannot conceive of a spiritual form. We cannot even see the spiritual form of the individual soul. When a man dies, we cannot see how the spiritual form leaves the body. That is the defect of our material senses. Right. In order to be seen by our material senses, the personality of Godhead accepts a favorable form, which is called Archa Vigraha. Right? This Archa Vigraha sometimes is called the Archa incarnation. Vigraha means just like a form. It is not different from him. Just as the Supreme Personality of Godhead accepts various incarnations, he takes on forms made of matter, clay, wood, metal, and jewels.
Have you ever seen a deity made of jewels?
I haven't. Have you?
No, I haven't.
That would be cool. I would love a jewel deity. I have a sterling silver Gopal.
Yeah.
And I've seen clay deities.
Sure.
Those are pretty cool. And of course, marble, the Pancha
metal,
the Pancha Bhuta, the 5 metals.
Oh, what is it again? There's 8 metals. Asta Dhatu, Pancha Dhatu.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, um, the deities are real. And if you don't like this whole idea of idol worship, don't sweat it. You're not worshiping idols. They're not random. We're not worshiping like a stovepipe or a just a random piece of stone. It's not like I can go up and pick up a stone on the ground and say, well, this is God. No, you can't work.
Keep reading, Rogue. Prabhupada's going to cover a lot of this stuff. You're thinking like Prabhupada. I think you'll like it.
I'm thinking like Prabhupada. Okay, that's good. There are many Shastric injunctions which give instructions for carving forms of the Lord.
Just like you were talking about finding the right stone, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. There's also like family lineages that come down, like they were taught from their parents how to do this.
Mm-hmm.
These forms are not material. If God is all pervading, then he's also in material elements. There is no doubt about it. But the atheist thinks otherwise. Although they preach that everything is God, when they go to the temple and see the form of the Lord, they deny that he is God. Isn't that funny? Everything's God. Why do we need a temple? Well, if everything's God, why can't...
What's the problem with the temple?
Yeah, what's the problem with the temple? What's wrong with the altar?
But the issue is that we're not seeing God everywhere. So when we create the temple and we create the altar, and then we create the form that's sitting on that altar, it's a way of centering our mind on God.
It's obvious. It's
which
easy to focus.
We tend to have trouble doing. Yeah.
It's easy to focus.
Continue,
Although they
Rob.
preach everything is God, when they go to the temple and see the form of the Lord, they deny that he is God. Everything else is God, but that is not God. According to their own theory, everything is God. Then why is the deity not God? Actually, they have no conception of God. The devotee's vision, however, is different. Their vision is smeared with love of God. As soon as they see the Lord in his different forms, the devotees become saturated with love, for they do not find any difference between the Lord and his form in the temple, as do the atheists. The smiling face of the deity in the temple is beheld by the devotees as the transcendental and spiritual. And the decoration of the body of the Lord is very much appreciated by the devotees. It is the duty of the spiritual master to teach how to decorate the deity in the temple and how to cleanse the temple and how to worship the deity.
Okay, so let's just look at this for a second. What it's saying is that God is present everywhere. God is present in anything. In these ancient yoga teachings, there are books that tell us, here's a way to focus your attention on God. Because God is everywhere, but you're not always seeing God everywhere, we're going to create a meditation for you. This is how you do it, right? And the form should be carved in certain ways. They should resemble the form of God. And then then the ritual is laid out by which one meditates on that form. And it becomes a very, very focused, powerful meditation that's transformative. It changes your mind. It reprograms your mind. It changes your life. If you're one of these people that Henry was speaking about in the beginning of the show, right? Whose mind has, it's been, how did he say it? That something's been grafted onto into our mind. There's the illusory worldview grafted upon them from birth through social conditioning. So if what's been grafted on me is that like there is no God, that the point of that happiness is there's no connection to be found, it's all found through external things and so on. If I've had that deeply impressed in my mind, here's a way to transform that. Create this form of God, do it in a beautiful way, then learn how to do the ritual and connect with that form, connect your mind to that form. It begins to counter that social conditioning in a very effective way. Okay, continue, please.
Yes, it does.
It is the duty.
It is the duty. Where the hell am I?
It is the duty of the spiritual master to teach how to decorate the deity in the temple, how to cleanse the temple, and how to worship the deity. There are different procedures and rules and regulations which are followed in temples of Vishnu, and devotees go there to see the deity, the Vigraha, and spiritually enjoy the form because all of the deities are benevolent, right? They recognize the kindness there. It's like it does good for you to be there, to be thinking that way, to be focused that way. Now listen to this. This is nice right here. Okay, Rogan, tell me if you do this sometimes. Because this verse said, and they also talk favorably with me, right? So here it says, the devotees express their minds before the deity. And in many instances, the deity also gives answers. But one must be a very elevated devotee in order to be able to speak with the Supreme Lord. Sometimes the Lord informs the devotee through dreams. These exchanges of feelings between the deity and the devotee are not understandable by atheists, but actually the devotee enjoys them. Kapila Muni is explaining how the devotees see the decorated body and face of the deity and how they speak with him in devotional service.
Amazing, huh?
It's a beautiful verse.
The Pujari will start to understand the deity's mind. So many good stories. So many good stories, right?
Maybe dreams, special dreams that go on.
Well, there's some. None of my. I'm not so evolved, but
Okay.
the deity can speak to you, and the deity can instruct you, and then the deity. There's just there's hundreds of good stories of. What was that book we used to read, Mara?
The one by O.B.L. Kapoor.
Yeah, it was such a good book.
So good.
Experiences in
Experiences in
Bhakti. No, experiences in Bhakti and all relationships with deities, and the deities have done things. But
I've never heard of
when you
this.
go around in Vrindavan, the Pujari should know. Prabhupada said this too. The Pujari should know, how is the deity feeling? Like, is the deity happy? The Pujari should know that, because they're really intimately connected with the deity.
All right. Well, Mary, do we have any takeaways for today?
We do have some takeaways today.
Hey, before we do our takeaways, I'm reading through this message board. I want to give some validation out there to all the people that literally walked away from drugs and alcohol and have changed their life. It's very impressive. These are things that are deeply woven into people's life and to their culture, into their family and relationships, into their concepts of recreation, and they literally walked away from it. It's very, very impressive, and I want to give some credit where credit's due. So it's impressive, people, and it's definitely it sets you. It opens a door basically to a whole new world, and a whole new trajectory of your future. So congratulations. Takeaways.
All right, takeaways. There's a beauty to the sobriety of the temporality of life.
There's a beauty to the sobriety.
To the sobriety of the temporality.
That was
Of
from
life.
you, Raghu. Yeah.
I'm very, very deep.
Choose a festival of edification over degradation.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's the choose your festival. That's my t-shirt today.
It takes a spiritual effort, not just an environment.
Okay. All
Flip
right.
flip the script, turn your prison into a temple.
Ooh.
Pretentious religiosity is obliterated by understanding Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Okay.
There's
Notice
no
that.
amount of stuff that will make me happy.
Yeah.
I say that all the time.
Yeah.
about-
Consciousness.
I was gonna say, how about something's amiss?
Yeah.
Something's amiss.
Some of us
Something's
sense
amiss
something's
here.
amiss. Choose knowledge over the veils of ignorance. That's also from that
The
wisdom
veils.
nugget.
Ignorance.
And Karuna tells us, don't envy, but be humble. That's her takeaway.
Don't
Ah,
envy.
That's a good one.
Yeah, be humble.
Be humble.
Be humble.
We got BRG meetings today, Mara.
We do
Buck
1
Recovery
o'clock.
Group.
Yeah, 1 o'clock for everyone, and then there's a women's meeting tonight at 9:30 p.m.
All right.
All righty.
Rogo, you it's like the old you coming back, but I want you to rest today. I want you to.
I'm gonna
I want you
chill
to run
out.
full speed all day.
I got
Chill
Bunky
out.
taking care of me. He's got a lot of love, this guy. Bunky's
Okay.
Bunky's still he's nursing himself too, but he's loving me up as well. So I feel very taken care of. Thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks all you people who walked away from your drugs and alcohol. And everything else you walked away from. Your degrading festivals. Thanks for all you people walking away from degrading festivals on a regular basis.
Maybe we got to put together an edifying festival for everyone.
Yes, we need a big.
You know what would be an
festival.
edifying festival?
What?
Our retreat in Cali, Colombia.
Cali, Colombia. When's the date
can
for
we
that,
find-
Mr. Stuba?
I think it's the 12th. Is that right? The 12th of January, 12th to 21st of January in Cali.
All right. We're going to Columbia,
be able
people.
to sign up for this? Can people sign up for it? What's going on with that?
Almost.
Marathon-
They can email us. They can email us.
Why can't we do that?
Top secret.
We gotta
We're gonna make them very, very eager. Yeah, me and Bobby are doing our Bhakti and Restorative Retreat first, and then we're
Alright.
doing our Wisdom of the Sages Retreat, and then me and Madhu are doing the Kirtan Academy. You're welcome to come to any or all.
All right.